Hannah Park stepped off the transport shuttle onto the shiny metal floor of Galactic Academy. Her simple human uniform made her stand out among the colorful, elaborate clothing of the alien students. She clutched her small bag close to her body as she looked around the massive entrance hall, trying not to seem impressed. The admissions officer had told her to report to the main office, but Hannah wasn't sure which direction to go. The ceiling soared hundreds of feet above her head, and several floating platforms carried students between different levels. "That's the human?" said a tall blue alien to his friend. He didn't bother to lower his voice. "I thought they'd be more impressive." His friend, who had 4 arms and dark purple skin, laughed. "Humans barely discovered space travel 20 years ago. She'll fail within a week." Hannah kept her face blank, even though she heard every word. She had expected this kind of reaction. Humans were new to the galactic community and considered primitive by most advanced species. An older student with green scales passed by. Hannah cleared her throat. "Excuse me, could you tell me where to find the main office?" The alien looked at her with 3 blinking eyes. "Third level, Section 8, she said quickly before hurrying away. Hannah found the gravity lift and stepped onto the platform. It carried her up to the 3rd level, where she found a door marked Administration in 10 different languages. Inside, a tall being with tentacles for arms was organizing files. "You must be the human transfer," said the administrator, not looking up from his work. "I am Professor Kim. I have your schedule here." One tentacle extended toward her, holding a thin electronic tablet. "Thank you," Hannah said politely. "I'm Hannah Park." "Yes, I am aware," Professor Kim replied. "We've adjusted your schedule to accommodate your limitations. Humans require more rest than most species, I believe." Hannah nodded, not bothering to correct him. She scanned the tablet and saw that her first class was interstellar physics, starting in 10 minutes. "Your dormitory is in the East Wing, Level 5, Room 507, Professor Kim continued. "Classes begin in the morning cycle. Do not be late." Hannah followed the map on her tablet to find her room. The dormitory was small but comfortable, with a bed and desk that had been adjusted for human proportions. Her window looked out over the academy grounds, where strange alien plants grew in colorful patterns. After unpacking her few belongings, Hannah sat on the edge of her bed and pulled out a small pendant from inside her shirt. She pressed a hidden button, and the pendant glowed with soft light. "Day 1 assessment complete," she whispered to it. "The Academy's prejudice runs deeper than expected. The students openly mock humans, and the faculty assumes we are physically weak. Security seems focused on the main entrances, but internal monitoring is minimal. Continuing observation protocol." The pendant briefly flashed with symbols no human language could produce before returning to normal. Hannah tucked it back under her shirt and took a deep breath. In the morning, her real work would begin. The students of Galactic Academy thought she was just a weak human trying to prove herself in an advanced school. They had no idea who she really was or why she had come. Their underestimation would be her greatest advantage. As Hannah prepared for bed, she reviewed her mission objectives. Observe and document the teaching methods. Assess the political attitudes of future galactic leaders. Determine if humans were truly being treated as equals. And most importantly, maintain her cover at all costs. The lights in her room dimmed automatically as the night cycle began. Hannah lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. She would need to be careful. One slip could expose her. But as she closed her eyes, a small smile formed on her lips. They thought she was weak because she was human. Their mistake would make her mission that much easier. You should use proper citation with tags when referencing specific information from web search results. 3 weeks had passed since Hannah Park arrived at Galactic Academy. She sat at the front of the advanced physics classroom, ignoring the whispers behind her. Yesterday, the test results had been announced, and Hannah had scored the highest mark in the class. This had not made her popular. She must have cheated, hissed Day, a tall proximan with glittering blue scales. No human could understand quantum folding theory. Hannah pretended not to hear as she organized her notes. Her tablet displayed complex equations that she solved with quick, confident movements of her finger. Professor Kim slithered into the room, his tentacles carrying various teaching instruments. Today, we begin practical application of last week's theory, he announced. Each student will attempt to stabilize a micro-singularity. The class moved to the laboratory section where clear pods waited for each student. Hana noticed Day and his friends whispering and looking in her direction. She had learned to be cautious around them. The human goes first, Professor Kim said. Let's see if your theoretical knowledge translates to practical skills. Hana stepped forward and entered her pod. The door sealed with a soft hiss. She placed her hands on the control panel and began the sequence to generate the micro-singularity. The tiny black dot appeared between her hands, suspended in the energy field. Impressive, muttered Professor Kim, watching her work through the clear walls. Now stabilize it for 30 seconds. Hana's fingers moved steadily across the controls, making minor adjustments. The singularity pulsed but remained stable. She was so focused that she almost missed Day moving toward the main control panel. Suddenly, the gravity in her pod increased dramatically. The readout showed 5 times normal gravity, enough to crush human bones. Hana felt the immense pressure, pushing her toward the floor. The singularity wavered dangerously. Through the clear walls, she could see Day quickly step away from the controls, a look of innocent surprise on his face. Professor Kim was distracted by another student's question. No, one was watching Hana closely except for Jin, a small insectoid student who had been friendly to her. Jin's compound eyes widened as he realized what was happening. Hana had a split-second decision to make. If she was truly human, she would collapse under this pressure. But her mission was too important to fail now. Carefully maintaining her composure, she continued working the controls, stabilizing the singularity as if nothing was wrong. After 30 seconds, Professor Kim looked over. His tentacles curled in shock when he saw the gravity readings. "System malfunction," he exclaimed, rushing to shut down the pod. The door opened and the gravity returned to normal. "Are you injured?" Hana stepped out calmly. "I'm fine, Professor." "Impossible," Day muttered. The gravity was set to 5 times Earth standard. Professor Kim examined the controls. "A serious equipment malfunction. We'll investigate this incident." But his many eyes studied Hana with new interest. Later in the dining hall, Jin sat down beside Hana. The small insectoid pushed his food around his plate nervously. "I saw what Day did," Jin whispered. "He changed the gravity settings deliberately." Hana nodded. "I know. But that kind of pressure should have injured you severely," Jin continued. "How did you withstand it?" Hana gave a careful smile. "Lucky human physiology, I guess." Jin's antennae twitched skeptically. "No human could withstand that pressure. I've studied your species extensively." "Perhaps you don't know everything about humans," Hana replied quietly. That evening, Hana found her room had been tampered with. The environmental controls had been set to a nitrogen-rich atmosphere that would be toxic to humans. She reset them without concern and checked her room for other traps. In the bathroom, she removed her pendant and activated it. The small device projected a holographic display that only she could see. "Escalation noted," she whispered. "The group led by Student Day has moved from verbal harassment to physical sabotage. They're testing my limitations, but also revealing their own prejudices and techniques. Their actions provide valuable data about attitudes toward less advanced species." The device recorded her report and then displayed a message. "Maintain cover at all costs. Avoid further displays of abnormal ability." Hana sighed and deactivated the pendant. Tomorrow was the qualifying round for the Galactic tournament, and she had already registered for the endurance trials. The students had laughed at her entry, but Hana knew this would be her chance to gather information about the Academy's top students. As she prepared for bed, she caught her reflection in the mirror. Her human appearance was perfect. No one would suspect what lay beneath. But how long could she maintain this facade if the attacks continued to escalate? And what would happen when her true abilities could no longer be hidden? The Galactic tournament arena buzzed with excitement. Students from all species filled the viewing platforms, eager to watch the competition. Hana stood at the entrance to the endurance course, stretching her muscles. She wore the simple gray uniform of Earth, plain compared to the elaborate outfits of other competitors. The human actually showed up, Day said loudly to his friends. This should be entertaining. Hana ignored him, focusing on the obstacle course ahead. The endurance trial was designed to test strength, speed, and stamina under different planetary conditions. Most humans would struggle with the extreme environments. Professor Kim floated near the control booth, his tentacles working multiple screens at once. Competitors, take your positions. Hana lined up with the others. There were 12 participants, including a 6-armed Palaxian, a hovering gas being, from Neptune's moons and several other advanced species. Jin stood nearby, his insect exoskeleton gleaming under the lights. Begin, Professor Kim announced. The course activated. Hana ran forward with the others, immediately facing a section of triple gravity. The Palaxian and gas being moved easily through it, while others slowed. Hana kept her pace measured, careful not to show too much strength. From the viewing area, Day watched with narrowed eyes. He leaned over to a small device on his wrist and whispered something. In the control room, a junior technician nodded slightly. Hana cleared the gravity section and entered the extreme temperature zone. The air suddenly dropped to freezing, then rose to burning hot in alternating patches. She navigated through carefully, staying just behind the leaders. The human is doing surprisingly well, someone commented in the crowd. Day frowned. Not for long. As Hana reached the halfway point of the course, a strange sound filled the arena. A section of wall slid open, and something large moved in the shadows. Professor Kim looked up in alarm. System breach, unauthorized program activation. A Taejon beast emerged from the opening, a predator with sharp spines containing powerful neurotoxins. The creature was not part of the planned course. It let out a shriek and charged toward the nearest competitors. Students screamed in the stands. The Palaxian competitor tried to climb a wall to safety. The gas being simply floated higher. But near the beast stood a group of young students who had been waiting for their junior competition to begin. The Taejon turned toward the children, its spines rising. Hana assessed the situation in a split second. Security would not arrive in time. The beast's toxin could paralyze or kill the young students. Her mission protocol demanded she maintain her cover, but lives were at stake. She made her choice. Hana sprinted across the course with impossible speed, placing herself between the Taejon and the children. The crowd gasped as she moved faster than any human should be capable of. The beast lunged, its venomous spines striking Hana's arm. The toxin would paralyze a normal human instantly. Hana didn't flinch. With one fluid motion, she extracted the spines from her arm and then touched specific points on the beast's neck. The creature collapsed, sedated but unharmed. Silence fell over the arena. Impossible, whispered Professor Kim, checking his scanners. The Taejon's venom has no effect on her. Security officers rushed in to secure the beast. The young students, huddled together, safe but frightened. Day stood frozen in the stands, his plan having backfired completely. Instead of humiliating Hana, he had given her the perfect opportunity to reveal extraordinary abilities. After the chaos settled, Hana was examined in the medical bay. Professor Kim hovered nearby, his scanning device pointed at her. Your cellular structure is changing, he said quietly. What are you? Just a student, Hana replied calmly. Jin appeared at the doorway. The young students want to thank you, he said. Everyone's calling you a hero. Hana nodded, but said nothing. Once alone in her room that night, she activated her pendant. My cover has been compromised, she reported. The Taejon incident forced me to reveal enhanced abilities. The pendant glowed. A voice responded, You're attracting too much attention. Remember your mission. The mission parameters have changed, Hana argued. The prejudice here runs deeper than we thought. A student deliberately released a deadly predator, expecting it to harm others, just to prove humans don't belong. This is not your decision to make, the voice replied. Return to observation only. Hana shut off the pendant and stood by her window, looking at the stars. Tomorrow, everyone would view her differently. Some with newfound respect, others with deeper suspicion. Day would not stop with one failed attempt, and Professor Kim had seen her cellular changes. He would have questions she wasn't authorized to answer. Hana touched the spot where the Taejon's spines had pierced her skin. The wound had already healed completely, leaving no trace. How much longer could she maintain her cover? And was the mission worth the cost of innocent lives? She made a decision. The Academy needed to learn some lessons, and she would be the one to teach them. The Academy halls buzzed with whispers as Hana walked to her morning class. Students moved aside, some with awe, others with fear in their eyes. News of the Taejon incident had spread quickly. Some called her a hero for saving the children. Others questioned what she truly was. Day had been unusually quiet for the past 3 days. Hana knew this silence was dangerous. She had noticed him collecting samples, a strand of her hair, a cup she had used in the dining hall. He was gathering evidence. Professor Kim watched her closely during physics class, his scanner discreetly aimed in her direction throughout the lesson. When Hana correctly solved an impossible equation, his tentacles curled with suspicion. "The Academy Council wishes to speak with you after classes today," he told her as students filed out. Jin waited for her in the corridor. "Be careful," the small insectoid warned. "Day's family has powerful connections. They've called in officials from the Galactic Security Force." Hana nodded. "Thank you for your concern." "Why did you come here?" Jin asked quietly. "You're clearly not just a human student." Before Hana could answer, the Academy alarms blared. Students froze, looking around in confusion. "All students and faculty to the main hall immediately," announced the automated system. In the main hall, Day stood on the central platform beside his father, a tall Proximan in an elaborate uniform covered with medals and insignia of high rank. Several armed security officers flanked them. "We have an infiltrator among us," Day's father declared as the hall filled. "Someone who has entered this academy under false pretenses." Hana remained near the back of the crowd, watching calmly. When Day pointed toward her, the security officers moved in her direction. "This so-called human has been lying to us all," Day announced, activating a large display screen. "I've analyzed samples of her cellular structure." The screen showed microscopic images of cells changing their form, shifting in impossible ways. "These are not human cells," Day continued. "No human could survive Taejon venom or extreme gravity. No human moves with such speed or solves quantum equations with such ease." The crowd turned to stare at Hana. She stood straight, her face betraying no emotion. "My family has served the Galactic Security Force for generations," Day's father said. "We protect our institutions from threats. This creature must be detained and investigated." Professor Kim floated forward. "What evidence do you have that she presents any threat?" "She has infiltrated our academy with a false identity," Day replied sharply. "What is her purpose here? Espionage? Sabotage?" The security officers surrounded Hana now. She made no move to resist. "Is this how you treat all species different from yourselves?" Hana asked calmly, her voice carrying through the hall. "With fear instead of understanding." "You lied about what you are," Day countered. "And you released a deadly predator that could have killed innocent children," Hana replied. "Which is the greater deception?" Day's scales flushed darker. "I did no such thing." "The security recordings show otherwise," said Jin suddenly, stepping forward with a small device. "I accessed the backup system after the incident." The crowd murmured as Jin projected footage showing Day accessing the beast containment controls before the incident. "This proves nothing," Day's father interrupted. "The security of the academy takes precedence. The creature will be detained." And a deafening explosion cut him off. The hall shook violently. Emergency lights flashed red as the academy shields activated. "We are under attack," announced the automated system. 3 unidentified vessels have breached the defense grid." Professor Kim rushed to a control panel. "Impossible. The defense grid is impenetrable without access codes." "Unless someone provided..." Those codes, Hana said, looking directly at Day's father. Another explosion rocked the academy. The main doors to the hall burst open, and armed figures in black uniforms rushed in. They wore masks with the symbol of the Galactic Purists, a radical group that believed advanced species should rule the galaxy. "Everyone on the ground," shouted their leader. "This academy is now under our control." Most students dropped to the floor in terror. The security officers moved to draw their weapons, but were quickly outnumbered. "We've disabled the central shields," the Purist leader announced to Day's father. As arranged, Day looked at his father in shock. "Father, what have you done?" "What's necessary?" the older Proximan replied coldly. "The galaxy must be protected from lesser species and those who harbor them." The Purist leader scanned the crowd until his eyes found Hana. "Where is the human specimen? Our benefactors will pay handsomely for it." Hana stood slowly, drawing all eyes to her. "Everyone to the lower levels," she commanded with unexpected authority. "This attack is not random." As students rushed toward the escape tunnels, Day caught Hana's arm. His eyes held confusion and the first hints of regret. "What are you?" he asked quietly. "Someone who still believes your people can change," she answered. The Purists had taken control of the academy's main hall. Students huddled in fear as armed soldiers patrolled between them. Professor Kim attempted to negotiate with the invaders, his tentacles gesturing desperately. "The academy has valuable research," he argued, "but we have no quarrel with your movement." "We're not here for your research," the Purist leader replied coldly. His black mask reflected the emergency lights as he scanned the crowd. "We came for the human." All eyes turned to Hana, who stood calmly in the center of the hall. She had not fled with the other students. "You've been harboring a human," the leader continued, addressing the faculty. "The Galactic Purists will pay handsomely for such a specimen. Humans must be studied before they contaminate more of our galaxy with their primitive ways." Day watched from nearby, his face showing conflicting emotions. His father stood proudly beside the Purist commander, scales gleaming with satisfaction. "I'm afraid you've made a serious mistake," Hana said, her voice echoing through the hall. "I'm not exactly human." A strange light began to emanate from her skin. The air around her seemed to bend and shift, as if reality itself could not contain her. "What trick is this?" demanded the Purist leader, raising his weapon. "No trick," Hana replied. "Just the truth." The light intensified until students had to shield their eyes. When they looked again, Hana had changed. She stood taller now, her skin shimmering with an opalescent glow. Her eyes held depths that seemed to contain entire galaxies. The Purist leader fired his weapon. The energy blast dissolved into harmless particles before reaching Hana. With a simple gesture of her hand, every weapon in the room disintegrated into dust. "I am Hana of the Guardians," she announced, her voice carrying a new resonance. "For millennia, we have watched over developing species, guiding them toward cooperation rather than conquest." The Purist leader stumbled backward. "The Guardians are myths. All myths contain truth," Hana replied, "as does the myth that humans are weak. They are under our protection precisely because they possess the greatest potential for compassion we have seen in eons." Dai's father lunged forward in desperate rage. "Lies! Humans are barely evolved animals." Hana touched his forehead gently. The Proximan froze, his eyes widening as knowledge poured into his mind. "See the truth," Hana said softly. "See what humans will become if allowed to grow without interference from those who fear difference." She turned to address the stunned audience. "The Guardians have observed your academy for decades. We send observers to evaluate how you treat emerging species. The bias and discrimination I encountered here confirmed our concerns." Professor Kim floated forward cautiously. "If you are not human, why this deception?" "Would you have shown your true nature if I had arrived as a guardian?" Hana asked. "We needed to see how you treat those you consider inferior." Day stepped closer, scales pale with shock. "All this time, The tests, the Tejon, were valuable data, Hana finished. Your willingness to endanger others simply to prove superiority revealed much about this institution's true values. The purist forces remained frozen, unable to move against Hana's power. With another gesture, she summoned security forces from throughout the academy. They rushed in to detain the invaders. The purists and their collaborators will answer for their actions, Hana declared, looking pointedly at Day's father. Their plot to harvest technology from lesser species and eliminate potential rivals ends today. In the days that followed, the Academy underwent profound changes. An investigation revealed that several high-ranking officials had conspired with the purists, believing in genetic superiority and species hierarchy. Hana remained at the Academy, now openly serving as a guardian representative. Students who once mocked humans now attended her seminars on interspecies cooperation. Professor Kim approached her office on the final day of the term. "We have much to learn," he admitted, his tentacles lowered in humility. "That," Hana smiled, "is why I'm staying." Later that evening, Hana met with Jin in the Academy gardens. The insectoid student watched as 3 other lesser species students joined them. "It was an honor to serve alongside you," Jin said, his exoskeleton shifting to reveal a subtle glow similar to Hana's. "You played your role perfectly," Hana replied. "The Guardians chose well when they selected you as an observer." The other students also began to change, revealing their true guardian nature. Each had been positioned at the Academy, disguised as underestimated species, gathering data on how the galactic community treated its newest members. "The age of division is ending," Hana told them as they looked up at the stars. "Humans will soon join the galactic community fully, and when they do, they will bring new perspectives that will benefit all species." Day stood at the entrance to the garden, watching the gathering. When Hana noticed him, she gestured for him to approach. "I was wrong about humans," he said quietly. "And about many things. Understanding that is the first step toward change," Hana replied. "The real test begins now, for all of us." Above them, the night sky filled with subtle lights as more guardian ships arrived, visible only to those who knew what to look for. The future of the galaxy was about to change forever.